عندك أنت تغرد بنفسك ولا في أحد يغرد بدالك؟
نص نص.
أنا والله ماني بشايف نص نص.
نعم.
أنا شايف واحد فريق مو بنت.
لا
لأنك أنت عندك قفشات وأسلوبك بالخطابة جميل. بس بالتويتر ناشف. يعني في التويتر أنت لست زي التلفزيون، أنت متحدث ممتاز ولبق. في التويتر مرة يعني كذا رسمي.
ترى توي جديد على الشغلة هذه لأقل من سنة. وعلشان أكون صريح معكم، ترى عيالي أفهم مني في الأمور هذه، فإذا كان عندي مشكلة ولا شيء هم اللي يسمعوني.
جميل.
والله ما أنت تسمع.
The ironic part is that for years people have been saying Saudi Arabia needs to step up and lead. Why do they want us to fight their wars for them? Why do they want us to solve their problems for them? The countries of the region have enough resources, they should do it on their own. And so we were being criticized for not leading. And then when we lead, we're being criticized for, why did you do this? So it's one of those things where it's damn if you do and damn if you don't. And from my perspective, it's like, tell me which one is going to take place. If you want us to lead, then support us. And if you don't want us to lead, show us who's going to lead. But you can't criticize us for not stepping up and then criticize us when we do step up. There's a hypocrisy in this. So is it a new Saudi doctrine? When you have a vacuum, evil forces flow into the vacuum unless you do something about it. And we are determined to protect our citizens and our country and our borders from all evil. And so we had no choice but to intervene in Yemen, as I pointed out.
Meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, aufgrund der freundlichen Einladung von seiner Exzellenz Herrn Dr. Steinmeier bin ich gerne nach Deutschland gekommen. Durch meinen früheren Aufenthalt in Deutschland hatte ich ein anderes nostalgisches Bild erwartet, wurde jedoch sehr positiv überrascht, als ich Berlin sah. Eine schöne, große und kosmopolitische Stadt. Ich möchte behaupten, dass die Einwohner vieler anderer Länder, nicht nur Deutschland, ebenfalls gerne solch eine Stadt als ihre Hauptstadt bezeichnen würden. Ich wollte heute an Sie alle einen Gruß auf Deutsch richten, in der Hoffnung, dass seine Exzellenz Dr. Steinmeier die Fragen der Journalisten auf Arabisch beantwortet. Und jetzt, and now I will speak in English or Arabic. In Arabic, if you allow me. أود أن أشكر معالي الوزير الخارجية الألماني على هذه الدعوة الكريمة. لقد بحثنا أمور عديدة خلال الفطور، سواء كان الوضع في سوريا، العراق، الاتفاقية النووية.
Thank you, sir, for a very interesting speech. My name is Magdi Abdelhadi, and I'm a member of Chatham House. You say Saudi Arabia is a much older monarchy than we think, 300 years, I think you said. Why is it taking the kingdom so long to appoint a foreign minister who is not a member of the royal family? Because I believe you are the first. So, and correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think there were foreign ministers in any country 300 years ago. Thank you.
Accusing the Iran for everything, I think that is not necessary, and also it's not beneficial for the both countries. I think that when we say that Al-Qaeda has relation with Iran is completely a joke. We do not forget, and everybody do not forget, that bin Laden is a Saudi citizen and has a strong political and economic relations with inside of the Saudi. I think that everybody does not forget that from the 19 people of the people that committed the 11th of September, 15 people of that 19 was the Saudi citizens. So it seems that, and also now in this room, I think that many people also knows that which country or which countries has supported the Daesh for many years. Just I would like to mention that the things that Minister mentioned here is completely against and opposite to the policy of the European Union leaders and even United States that does have relations with Iran regarding especially the recent cases of the nuclear negotiation. And also there's some kind of the relations that also Iran has with other regional countries shows that Iran also has some kind of the logical policy. Inviting Iran to present in the coalitions that for the things that for them solving the problem in Syria shows that Iran is a main partner for the solving the problem in the Syria. That's all.
Now on the third issue, the Honorable Consul General from Iran, I didn't say anything that was not based in fact. Doesn't the Iranian constitution say export the revolution? Doesn't the constitution say take care of the Shia, the dispossessed, as you call them? Didn't Iran create Hezbollah? Didn't Iran attack more than a dozen embassies inside Iran in violation of all international laws? We didn't attack them. Iran did. Didn't Iran manage, plan, and execute the 1996 attack in Khobar Towers against the American Marines? Yes, they did. The control officer was Brigadier General Sharifi. You're a military attaché in Bahrain. The bomb maker was Hezbollah. The explosives came from the Bekaa Valley. The top 3 leaders of the plot escaped and have been living in Iran ever since. Isn't that sheltering terrorists? One of them we captured last year in Lebanon with an Iranian passport, not a Saudi passport, even though he's a Saudi citizen. Isn't that aiding and abetting terrorists? We didn't make this up. When the explosions in Riyadh happened in 2003, Saif al-Adil was in Iran along with Saad bin Laden, the chief propaganda person for Al-Qaeda, and 4 or 5 other people, senior leaders. Iran harbored them and protected them. We asked for them to be extradited. It was refused. Some of them are still in Iran. We didn't invent this. This is the fact. The order to blow up 3 housing compounds in Riyadh in 2003 was made by Saif al-Adil, the chief of Al-Qaeda operations, while he was in Iran. We have the phone conversation on tape. We didn't make this up. Ronald Reagan used to say that facts are stubborn things. They are stubborn because you can't get around the fact. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. Attacking embassies is very clear. They don't just blow themselves up. Somebody does it. Killing diplomats. Diplomats don't commit suicide by shooting themselves 3 times. Somebody is responsible. Iranian agents have been linked to terrorist attacks in Europe, to terrorist attacks in South America. We didn't make this up. This is the world. This is evidence. And so, yes, we wish and hope that Iran, a great nation, can be a great neighbor to us. But it takes 2 to tango. It takes willingness to give up this expansionist, aggressive policies and return to international norms and behaviors if you want people to deal with you. And our hand is extended to Iran. It has been for 35 years. But what we get in return are diplomats killed, embassies blown up, terrorists. We have Iranian agents captured in Saudi Arabia for plotting terrorist attacks. We stopped 4 shipments of weapons that Iran was trying to smuggle to the Houthis in Yemen.
We have explosives that Iran tried to smuggle into Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait. This is not fiction. And this is not child's play. This is aggressive behavior. This is unacceptable behavior. This is behavior that violates all norms of international behavior and international law. That's why Iran is designated as a state sponsor of terrorism, and that's why Iran is sanctioned for its support of terrorism, not by us, by the international community. So could it be that the whole world is wrong and Iran is right? Could it be that maybe international law that says peaceful relations and non-interference in the affairs of others is wrong, and Iran's approach of aggressively pursuing your objective, irrespective of how you do it, is correct? I don't think so. So if you want a Saudi official to not be critical of Iran, behave in a way that doesn't expose you to criticism. And so far, your history has been one of death and destruction, disregard for international law, and disregard for principles that have existed since the advent of nations, which is good neighborliness and non-interference in the affairs of others.
Every religion has perverts and psychopaths who try to hijack it. ISIS is as much Islamic as the KKK is Christian. Don't they have a cross? Don't they do everything in the name of religion and Christ? Don't they believe that Christ compels them to lynch and kill people of African descent? Can one really say that the KKK is a Christian organization? There are other groups that one can point to. There are other massacres that were committed in the name of keeping certain countries or regions clear of non-Christians. There are people like this also in the Jewish faith that have nothing to do with Judaism. There are people like this in the Hindu faith that have nothing to do with Hinduism. For anyone to argue that Daesh is Islamic is preposterous. In the Islamic faith, the Quran reveals that you have your faith and I have my faith. And you're free to practice your faith and I'm free to practice mine. What greater sign of tolerance and acceptance do you have than this? In the Islamic faith it says, he who kills an innocent soul is as if he has killed all of humanity. And he who saves an innocent soul is as if he saved all of humanity. What better example of compassion and mercy do you have than this? So if you look at what Daesh says and you say it's in the scriptures, doesn't the Old Testament say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? If somebody does it today, would you say they were Christian or they were Jewish? So I caution people, because it seems to have become almost novel. Not novel, it's become the flavor of the day to try to read things into Daesh or into Islam that are not there.
Which school are you with?
I'm a journalist, Israeli journalist stationed here in New York.
What kind of journalist?
Israeli journalist.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Because we're out of time, and I know you got to run. Donald Trump, the Republican presidential presumptive nominee, he often speaks about Saudi Arabia, what he would do as president. I'm going to play a clip for you, then we'll get your response. This is Donald Trump.
Saudi Arabia, I like the Saudis. They're very nice. I make a lot of money with them. They buy all sorts of my stuff, all kinds of toys from Trump. They pay me millions and hundreds of millions. But you know what? They make $1 billion a day, folks. And whenever they're in trouble, our military takes care. You know, we get nothing.
Nothing. He says you're making $1 billion a day, and the United States takes care of you militarily, and you don't respond in kind.
At least he likes us. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is an ally that carries its own weight. We have always supported ourselves. We have not relied on anyone to provide any assistance to us. When you look at the Gulf War to liberate Kuwait, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia assumed the lion's share of the financial burden of that war. When you look at other operations that have taken place in the region, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia carries its own weight. I believe that when people are in office and the campaign is over, but we demand the immediate release. What are we, a banana republic? Would any country accept this? No, we don't. You do this, you play into the hands of the extremists who are opposing our reform process. If we don't take steps, it means that we're weak. If we take steps, we damage a relationship with a friendly country. We didn't do this. You did. Fix it. Fix it. You owe us an apology. You can talk to us about human rights anytime you want. We'd be happy to have that conversation like we do with all of our allies. But lecturing us? No way. Not going to happen. And enough is enough. We don't want to be a political football in Canada's domestic politics. That's what we became. Find another ball to play with, not Saudi Arabia. And that's why the reaction in our country was so strong. Very easy to fix. Apologize. Say you made a mistake.
President Trump's decision to walk away from the Iran nuclear deal was not unexpected, but has still been met with deep concern around the globe from those who made the deal. Former President Obama called the decision misguided, while former Vice President Joe Biden called it a profound mistake. Key allies who had urged President Trump to stay in the deal, France's Emmanuel Macron, the UK's Theresa May, and Germany's Angela Merkel, they all said they felt regret and concern over the decision in Washington. Joining us now from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Adel al-Jubeir. Foreign Minister, thanks so much for joining us. Why do you, the Saudi government, support President Trump's decision?
We believe that the nuclear deal was flawed. We believe that the sunset clause should be eliminated. We believe that the inspections should be tightened. We believe that the deal does not deal with Iran's ballistic missile program, nor does it deal with Iran's support for terrorism and interference in the affairs of the countries of the region.
So if Iran now restarts its nuclear weapons program, will Saudi Arabia build a bomb itself?
I believe that if Iran restarts its enrichment program beyond what it has right now, that should trigger the snapback provisions and cause all the other P5 countries to abandon the deal and reimpose sanctions on Iran.
And what will Saudi Arabia do?
We will do whatever it takes to protect our people. We have made it very clear that if Iran acquires a nuclear capability, we will do everything we can to do the same.
And I assume that means you will acquire a nuclear capability yourself.
That's what we mean.
What's your message to the Iranian leadership right now, Foreign Minister?
Our message to the Iranian leadership is the policies of the past have got to come to an end. You cannot be a revolution. You cannot seek to expand and dominate the region. You cannot seek to acquire a nuclear program surreptitiously. You must abide by international law. You must cease supporting terrorism. You must cease providing ballistic missiles to terrorist organizations like so-called Hezbollah and the Houthis. And you must respect the principle of good neighborliness.
But do you believe, as the International Atomic Energy Agency does, and others, the Europeans, for example, the Russians, the Chinese, that Iran has been fully complying with the terms of the 2015 nuclear deal?
The agreement is flawed because by 2025 it allows Iran the ability to have unlimited enrichment capability, which could cause it to build capacity to the point where it can have enough enriched uranium for a nuclear weapon within a week. That is clearly not acceptable. That's one. Two, the inspections regime needs to be broadened and deepened. It's limited to the declared sites. It has to be 24/7, anywhere, anytime.
Did the Trump administration speak with the Saudi leadership before announcing the decision by the president yesterday?
The Trump administration talked to allies and gave them a heads up in terms of the timing of an announcement, but not the content of the announcement.
Not the specific announcement. Were you surprised?
No, because I believe it was the right thing to do. I believe that a no agreement is better than a flawed agreement. I believe that any future agreement has to be comprehensive and has to include Iran's violations of the UN resolutions with regard to ballistic missiles and Iran's support for terrorism and interference in the affairs of other countries. Otherwise, we will not be. That's the only way to stop Iran.
Why not stay in the deal, Foreign Minister, and work out a separate supplemental agreement on Iran's, for example, ballistic missile program, its actions destabilizing in the region? Why not stay in the deal and try to expand it?
The deal was flawed. I believe the president tried to work with the other P5 countries to improve the deal and fix it, and to deal with the issue of ballistic missiles and with the issue of Iran's support for terrorism and its nefarious activities in the region. But they weren't able to reach an agreement that was satisfactory, that would actually force Iran to change its behavior.
As you know, as a result of President Trump's decision, Iran is now actually, when it comes to this nuclear deal, on the same page as the Europeans, China, and Russia. The U.S. is on the outs. Are you comfortable with that situation?
The European countries, France and Germany and the UK, have made it clear that the issue of Iran's ballistic missiles and the issue of Iran's support for terrorism and interference in the affairs of the countries of the region must be dealt with. So in principle, they agree that Iran has to be held accountable for this, in addition to the nuclear program and looking for ways to fix it. So yes, we're comfortable. The US is out of the agreement. The sanctions will be reimposed. We support the US position. Our allies in Bahrain and in the United Arab Emirates and in Jordan and Egypt support this decision. The GCC Secretary General supports it. The Arab League Secretary General supports it. The Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Countries also supports it.
The Israelis clearly support it as well, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. The Turkish President Erdogan, on the other hand, says a crisis could be coming to the region because of this decision by President Trump. Do you have some fears that there could be an escalation of fighting, for example, in various parts of the Middle East as a result of this decision?
I hope not, but keep in mind, Wolf, that the crisis in the region began with the Khomeini revolution in 1979. Iran has been on a rampage ever since. Iran has been supporting terrorism. Iran has been creating groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis. Iran has been interfering in the affairs of other countries. And so Iran has been the source of conflict in this region. The fact that now Iran is going to be held accountable for any actions it takes, the fact that sanctions will be reimposed on Iran, should be a very strong and powerful message to the Iranian regime that it must change its behavior. I
know there was another missile attack in Riyadh today. What can you tell us about that?
There were actually 2 missiles that were intercepted today over Iraq, which brings the total to almost 130 ballistic missiles launched in Saudi cities, including the capital Riyadh. These missiles are of Iranian manufacture and delivered to the Houthis by the Iranians. We believe that the Houthis are able to operate them with expertise from Hezbollah and from Iran. Such behavior is unacceptable. It violates UN resolutions with regards to ballistic missiles, and the Iranians must be held accountable for this.
So what does that mean, held accountable?
We will find the right way and at the right time to respond to this.
Including military action?
We will make this. We are trying to avoid at all costs direct military action vis-à-vis Iran, but Iran's behavior such as this cannot continue. This is tantamount to a declaration of war. When somebody provides missiles to a terrorist group that lobs those missiles at your cities and your civilians indiscriminately, what do you call it? A friendly act? Of course not.
Foreign Minister, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.